2018, the Code of Conduct Bill 2018, Bill number 33 of 2018, and the Registration of Sex Offenders Bill 2018, Bill number 34 of 2018. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is there a seconder?
Honourable Speaker, I beg to second the motion.
Honourable members, I now call upon the Leader of Government in Parliament to speak to his motion. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, Standing Orders 97, Clause 1 provides that a bill that lapses due to prorogation before it has been passed may proceed in the next session at the stage it had reached in the previous session by resolution of Parliament, restoring the bill to the order paper. As all honourable members may be aware, the Parliament is mandated under Section 46 of the Fijian Constitution to make laws for the state through the enactment of bills passed by Parliament and assented to by His Excellency the President. Mr. Speaker, sir, at the present moment, the Standing Orders committees are unable to proceed with any work on these bills as these all lapsed during the prorogation on 21st October 2019. Since the last prorogation, Mr. Speaker, sir, the bills which had lapsed are the Adoption Bill 2018, the Code of Conduct Bill 2018, and the Registration of Sex Offenders Bill 2018. Mr. Speaker, sir, it's imperative for the Parliament and its standing committees to fulfill its constitutional mandate and representative function. Therefore, I seek support from all honourable members to approve the motion before this August House. Mr. Speaker, sir, since the opening of the last session of Parliament and up until prorogation on 21st October, the Standing Committee on Justice, Law and Human Rights had undertaken extensive consultations, deliberations and meetings on these three bills. The Standing Committee will need at some point to conclude its work on these bills and table back in Parliament. But in order to do that, the Parliament needs to restore these bills to the order paper. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, sir, this is purely a procedural motion whereby the lapsed bills must be reinstated and restored to the order paper. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Parliament needs to approve this motion so that it is fully compliant with the standing orders. And I do commend this motion to Parliament, and I hereby seek support from all honourable members to approve the motion before this August House, and I thank you for this opportunity to move this motion, Mr. Speaker, sir.
I thank the Leader of Government. Honourable members, the floor is now open for debate on the motion. Honourable members, there no one wish to take the floor. I call on the Leader of Government in Parliament. You have the floor, sir.
I have nothing further to add, Mr. Speaker, sir. Thank you.
Honourable members, the Parliament will now vote. The question is that pursuant to Standing Orders 97, that the following bills be restored to the order paper. 1. Adoption Bill 2018, Bill number 32 of 2018. 2. Code of Conduct Bill 2018, Bill number 33 of 2018. And 3. Registration of Sex Offenders Bill 2018, Bill number 34 of 2018. Does any member oppose the motion? As no member opposes, the motion is agreed to unanimously. Secretary General.
Motion in the name of the Leader of the Government in Parliament.
Honourable members, I now call on the Leader of Government in Parliament, the Honourable Inia Seruiratu, to move his motion. You have the floor, sir.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that Parliament adopts the sitting calendar for the period February to December 2020. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is there a seconder?
Honourable Speaker, I second the motion.
Honourable members, I now call upon the Leader of Government in Parliament to speak to his motion.
Mr. Speaker, sir, as all honourable members may be aware, Standing Orders 22 Clause 1 provides that the Business Committee must recommend to Parliament a programme of sitting periods for each session of Parliament or each 12-month sitting period of Parliament, whichever is the shorter. In such regard, to ensure compliance to the Standing Orders, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Business Committee convened and undertook discussions on a proposed sitting calendar for 2020. Mr. Speaker, sir, for the information of all honourable members, the Business Committee concluded its deliberations and subsequently agreed and endorsed the sitting calendar for the period February to December 2020, which has been duly circulated to all honourable members. For further information of all honourable members, Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform that this proposed sitting calendar has not only emanated from the government side. It should be noted that requests from the opposition and the Secretariat to amend the dates in February, August, September and December were duly considered and supported by the government. For the benefit of all honourable members, as well as the general public at large, the endorsed sitting calendar outlines the following sitting periods: on the 24th to the 28th of February, 16th to the 20th of March, 27th April to 1st May, and from 25th to the 29th of May, and 31st August to 4th September, and 7th to 11th December. 26th October as prorogation of Parliament, and the 30th of November as the opening of the new session of Parliament. And Mr. Speaker, sir, similarly to previous years, the dates of the budget address and subsequent budget debates will be confirmed in due course, and this must and will take place either in June or July. Mr. Speaker, sir, the motion before the House does not propose a reduction in sittings in comparison to this year's sitting calendar. And while some may still view this as limiting debates on questions and motions, limiting people's access to members of Parliament and limiting accountability to the Fijian people, on the contrary, Mr. Speaker, sir, it does not take away the role of this august House, which is to make and pass laws, nor the role of all honourable members, which is to represent the Fijian people. Mr. Speaker, sir, true freedom and democracy is about introducing and having in place laws, policies and programs that actually empower people in a very tangible manner. And this is through the involvement of the people in the standing committees processes, and when members of Parliament from both sides of the House do go out to meet with the people. Through you, Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform honourable members of the House that whilst in discussion to finalise this proposed sitting calendar, the Business Committee took into consideration the following factors: the balancing act and the need to look at the work of the government given the schedules that are in place. Mr. Speaker, sir, government is mandated under the Constitution to follow up on its programs and policies, thereby to ensure that services are delivered to the Fijian people. In essence, Mr. Speaker, sir, government has to execute and implement, and that is why we have to be away from the House following up on such programs. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, sir, there is work also in the ministries, and we need to be there to guide the work, and this again is also critically important for us. It is in this respect, Mr. Speaker, sir, that the proposed sitting calendar before the House must be supported by all honourable members, that it is one that will help us to serve our citizens with honesty, integrity and without fear of favour. The work of the committees is critically essential as well, Mr. Speaker, sir, for the functioning of Parliament, and I must acknowledge the chairpersons, deputy chairpersons and committee members of the 6 standing committees for the work undertaken to date, and we need to keep up with the momentum. Mr. Speaker, sir, the business of this Parliament is not confined only to the proceedings in this chamber, but rather also takes place in the proceedings of the respective committees, whether it be in the committee rooms or outside Parliament during public consultations. Mr. Speaker, sir, it's envisaged that the proposed sitting calendar will allow the real work of the Parliament to continue in the committee sessions. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm adamant that the standing committee chairpersons and members of the 6 standing committees are in agreement that this calendar will allow them more time to look through and scrutinize the pending bills which have been reinstated to the order paper today. Petitions, treaties and annual reports that are currently pending with the committees, including the ones that will be referred later this week. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is for this reason also that all honourable members must support this proposed sitting calendar. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, sir, given the brief salient points I have put to the floor of this August House, I do commend this motion to Parliament, and I hereby seek support from all honourable members to approve the proposed sitting calendar for the period February to December 2020 as previously circulated. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
I thank the Leader of Government in Parliament. The floor is now open for debate on this question. Honourable Leader of the Opposition, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the Leader of Government Business in the House, the Honourable Seruiratu, for bringing this motion, the sitting calendar, into the House. And I also thank the Business Committee for allowing the change in the February planned sitting to and delaying it to the last week at my request. It came through the opposition members of the Business Committee. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Business Committee has agreed with this, but you know that it's done on a vote basis. And we would like to still express our reservations on the number of days that are allocated for us to debate national matters in this chamber. I believe, sir, that there should be more time given for us in our deliberations on the various important bills that come before us and the emergency ones that government may bring in through Standing Orders 51. Now we are very transparent. We are open to scrutiny by the public. They watch us as we deliberate in the chamber. Now this morning we will be launching the opening up of the committee work to the public to view and listen to. And as His Excellency urged us in his address last week, we could develop more ways and means through the latest technology that we now have to have more interaction with the people. Still, there would still be need for more time for us for the open debate in the chamber. So we express our reservations on the limited number of days of sitting, and if at all possible, for the Business Committee to consider Perhaps another one in October, or they can work it out, but more sitting days and hours for us to debate national matters, Mr. Speaker, sir. Thank you.
I thank the Leader of the Opposition, Ms. Honourable
Thank you,
Tabuya, we have the floor.
Mr. Speaker. So I rise to contribute to the motion on the 2020 sitting calendar. In addition to what the Leader of Opposition said, we acknowledge in the Business Committee that some of our requests had been adhered to or approved. However, as mentioned, we are concerned with reduced sittings. If you look at that calendar, it's basically there's about 6 sittings, minus the budget and the budget debate. So what we actually seeing is a reduction in the sittings. But even order. Even if they are saying there's no reduction, 6 out of 12 is really, do we ask ourselves the question, are we justifying our time as MPs?
Order.
And one of the issues put forward by government is their work as government. So what the government side needs to realize is that we are also representatives of the people. We were voted in, and we are not here as spectators. So in that sense, because we are not in government, Parliament is an opportunity for us to bring forward the issues from our people, from our voters, which is, let me remind the other side of the house, it's nearly 50%, just a little bit, and we reach 50%. So that is why we are saying that 6 sittings out of the 12 months is I would say ridiculous or unacceptable in terms of the Parliament being a representative forum for the people. So the other issue, Mr. Speaker, sir, is the government commitments, as I mentioned, overriding what we come here to present as representatives of the people. The last address by the President addressed the need for bills to be passed through this House. And we should do an audit. How many bills were passed in the last 12 months as compared to consequential bills? And how many of these bills or laws were taken back to the people for consultation? And we are very concerned about the abuse of Section 51 of the standing orders, where bills are being rushed through without proper consultation. And that's a continuing issue, which again brings to light the need to review the standing orders, so that there is accountability and good governance in the running of this Parliament. Those are some of the issues I thought I'd bring up. And in concluding, we have reservations about these 6 sittings out of the 12 months. Thank you.
I thank the Honourable Tabuya. Honourable Lynda Tabuya, you have the floor.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I just wish to contribute to the motion before the House on the draft sitting calendar. It has been presented by the Leader in Government. I note that he has, we've just passed the motion to revive the 3 bills, very big bills that have been consulted. And, you know, these bills, the adoption bill and code of conduct and registration of sex offenders bills, these are going to need time. We're going to need time to debate them in the House. I don't think they'll be bringing them under Standing Order 51. We should debate them. They've been consulted widely, and this is going to need time. And these sittings that are here before us, it's not going to be enough time to do this, Honorable Speaker. So they've asked for it, and we've agreed to that motion. So give the time for this House to debate adequately to reflect the views of the public for and against these bills. Secondly, the leader in government has also mentioned about the time that the government needs and that we all need in terms of the standing committees to do the work, and we need more time for that and less sittings. I don't see that as being justified, Honourable Speaker. I ask the government, if they so wish to get help from opposition, that they would share the work of the standing committees. Currently, the assistant ministers are chairs of the standing committees, and we've asked to be deputy chairs for opposition to be able to help in the work, and yet they continue to hog those positions as chair and deputy chair. We're here ready to help you. So let us help you from opposition so that we can share the work and get it done sooner so we can come to Parliament and debate these reports and present it before our people. Now lastly, Honourable Speaker, we have seen the budget cut for the past year. What does that mean? Less service delivery to our people by our ministers and government. So there should be more time freed up by the government to be available for sittings. It is logical. Honourable Attorney General, welcome back. Thank you for joining us in chambers, but you know, he knows very well, you know, in the meantime, while you look for money to support your policies and to run the government, we need to balance the time that we spend running the government and also being here in Parliament. Our people deserve to hear from us. You know, we need to not treat them as not very smart. They're actually watching. Our people are watching and following very closely. Following very closely.
Order.
We need more sitting time, Honourable Speaker, and this is what we fought for in the Business Committee. So I propose that we have a sitting in January. From now till February is too long. Our people deserve better than that. So, to that end, Honourable Speaker, I do not support the motion before the House and the sitting calendar as proposed, and I suggest that we reconsider and give more sitting time because our people deserve that. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
I thank the Honourable Lynda Tabuya. Honourable Rabuka, you have the floor.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I agree with my colleagues that we need to have more sittings, at the minimum once every month. As Honourable Tabuya has indicated, the break from today until February is way too long. My concern, Honourable Speaker, is that our people are beginning to lose interest in our Parliament. It's beginning to lose its relevance. And we have this channel, the parliamentary channel, that must be the most boring in this country. It keeps replaying scenes, programs from 2014, 2015. So our people are saying, you can do better than this. Why have all these long breaks? And why are laws not properly deliberated upon in the Parliament? We have had weeks in this Parliament, Honourable Speaker, where there was not one bill was brought to the floor by Fiji First. We have very little sittings, and they don't even bring a bill to the floor for one whole week of sitting. We are here to make laws, Honourable Speaker, and laws take time to be deliberated upon. And Fiji First is most negligent. And I've often tried to ask them to follow the example of SDL and SBT, where the party had a legislative committee. It was their task to bring 2 bills to every sitting of Parliament. You don't even bring bills to Parliament. And Honourable Speaker, there has to be a reality check on the side of Fiji First. In the 2018 election, Honourable Speaker, only 35.6% of the registered voters voted for them. 35.6% voted for the opposition parties, and 28.8% did not vote. Honorable Speaker, and what separated Fiji First from the opposition was a mere 147 votes. Once the opposition agreed to coalesce, Fiji First is toast. That's basically what it is. Look at the majority in 2014 and the majority in 2018. This party is toast. I would urge my friends over here now to start looking for another career next year, because you're not going to make it back. You're not going to make it back. And this is why people voted against them. The way, this cavalier manner they approach the parliaments and their responsibilities. So, Honorable Speaker, the people of Fiji deserve better, and we should look at having a sitting in January, one in August, and one in October. That will do justice to the kind of work we need to do in this parliament. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Attorney General, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I just wanted to ask for an amendment to the calendar, Mr. Speaker, sir. If we could shift the February sitting, Mr. Speaker, sir, from the 24th week to the 3rd of the February, Mr. Speaker, sir, because we have some urgent international commitments. As the Honourable Leader of Opposition's team, when they were in the Business Committee meeting, had asked for the original sitting date in February to be moved because he has to attend a breakfast meeting, I understand, in USA. So as a result of that, we had actually agreed to the move. So I request your indulgence and your goodwill, which is not much, to the week beginning the 3rd of February till the end of that week, Mr. Speaker, sir. We have a international ITC conference in Spain where Fiji is actually being recognized for the enormous strides that's been made. And we have to make various representations there. My apologies, Mr. Speaker, sir, that in the Business Committee meeting we weren't aware of the dates themselves. We are now aware of the exact dates, and it's actually in the week beginning the 24th of February. So if we could, with your indulgence, Mr. Speaker, sir, ask if that 24th sitting date be moved to the week beginning the 3rd of February. Mr. Speaker, sir, there's an amendment to that, and I request the honourable members of the opposition to do that too. Mr. Speaker, sir, it's an amendment. Talking, Mr. Speaker, sir, they're saying just go. You see, this is the kind of level of obtuseness you get from the other side, Mr. Speaker, sir. I was just talking to the Honourable Prime Minister of Cook Islands, where they're thinking of bringing an amendment, apparently because they want to replicate what some of the other jurisdictions are doing. Apparently in some jurisdictions, in some of the parliaments, if, for example, a government member will be away, the opposition then have one of the members away too, to be able to, replicate the absence of one from the other side, because that's how they have the parliamentary working in a very cohesive manner. Obviously, that's not working because you get comments like that, just go. The reality of the matter is, Mr. Speaker, sir, if I can just comment.
Order.
If I can just comment on what some of the members have already said, and my apologies for being a bit late this morning. Mr. Speaker, sir, the reality of the matter is that government has a business to run. Government has many matters to attend to. Government also at the same time, Mr. Speaker, sir, through its network, through the civil servants, through the permanent secretaries, through the ministers, also aware as to what people are thinking, what they want, what they're doing, and what their needs are. It's not only the opposition that does have that liberty to do that, nor they are the only ones that have that access. The other point, Mr. Speaker, sir, which I'd like to also elaborate, that the Honourable, His Excellency the President also stated, that Parliament is not the only means, or Parliament sitting day is not the only means where you actually are able to represent the people's views. The committees are extremely powerful mechanisms through which the members of Parliament actually are able to reach out to members of the public. They are powerful mechanisms in terms of accountability, in terms of scrutiny, where you have various organizations, statutory bodies appearing before the committees where they can scrutinize, where they can question them. And all the committees have the liberty to do that. So it is actually quite trite and in fact a contradiction to stand up here in this chamber and say that it is only through question time or only through sitting days can there be scrutiny of what is actually happening administratively or politically. It is not the only mechanism. The committees are extremely powerful. And many of the members of the opposition, including some of the members from our side, actually have been carrying out visits to other jurisdictions. And I'm sure they would have known and seen that the committees there are extremely powerful mechanisms. And Mr. Speaker, sir, Mr. Speaker, sir, so we need the committees to do their jobs. We need the committees to carry out the scrutiny. The committees are at liberty to not only sit in Suva, but they can sit anywhere in Fiji they like, where they take the committees, they take Parliament to the people. So it is obviously incorrect to say that it's only through sitting days can you actually have the level of scrutiny and indeed public engagement. The other point, Mr. Speaker, sir, which I always find not worth really responding to, but I feel I have to, the Honourable Rabuka had mentioned earlier on, we got only this percentage of votes, and I've highlighted previously that in many countries, and indeed in the last Parliament, in 2006 Parliament, when you had the SDL, they actually ran a minority government, Mr. Speaker, sir. If you look at the percentage of votes they received, NFP can testify to this. In one particular year, not in that year, but the years prior to that, where NFP received about 24-25% of the votes, yet they did not get a single seat. Because that was the system, the way the electoral system worked. To come and stand here and regurgitate those figures is actually quite nonsensical. Mr. Speaker, so the reality is that we have an electoral system, this is how the electoral system works. And the way it works is that you have a majority government, and that government is actually carrying out the governance. The other point I'd like to point out to him is absolutely misleading Parliament by saying that the previous governments used to have a bill every time Parliament sat. It's not true. And I'm quite happy tomorrow, Mr. Speaker, and I have presented these figures previously, quite happy to present the number of bills that were presented in previous parliaments in one of their terms of government. Far low, Mr. Speaker, sir. And the other point that I also want to highlight, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that there are a number of bills that actually have not been attended to by the committees, and these aren't even 51s. These are the ones that have been put through the normal process. We have to, as the Honourable Leader of Government, we now have to roll over these bills, because the committees still have not been able to bring back those bills to Parliament for debate. So how can we sit around simply to say, let's sit and wait for the bills and the committees aren't doing their job?
Order.
Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, Mr. Speaker, sir, as they would also know in other jurisdictions, is not to come here and blame each other. It's the committee's responsibility to sort that matter out amongst yourselves.
Order.
That's their responsibility. And Mr. Speaker, sir, it's not about sharing the chairmanship. It's about ensuring the committee actually sits. If they have issues with any of the MPs from this side of Parliament, they can actually, please, if you listen and you learn, you should need to go to the Speaker, go to the Secretary General and sort that out. This is not the forum to sort out the committee issues. It's through your honourable office, Mr. Speaker, sir, or through the Secretary General of Parliament. So let's focus on the issues here. Mr. Speaker, sir, nobody's blaming the Speaker. Again, Honourable Rasova, you should look at how you're doing a posting on Fiji Airways too. I've been noticing what you've been saying. Again, misleading information. Again, misleading information. But I'll get back to that later on. Mr. Speaker, sir, if I could, Mr. Speaker, sir, if I could please seek your indulgence in respect of the amendment from the movement of Parliament sitting on the week beginning the 24th to the week beginning the 3rd of February. If we can seek your indulgence, Mr. Speaker, sir. Thank you.
Attorney General for the amendment. Is there a seconder to this amendment?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to second the motion.
Then, anyone wishing to speak? Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Honourable Mikanawaikula.
I disagree entirely. You know, it shows a very lack of vision. You come to this house, you should be prepared. You should be prepared. then you come at the proper time. So don't come here and waste your time with something that you have overlooked.
Honorable Salatin, you have the floor.
This motion, Honorable Speaker, I do not support the amendment to the motion. And because it's not the appropriate time to be bringing it in. We are on this motion first.
Order.
You can introduce your amendment later. Let's complete this debate. May I contribute to the debate, Honorable Speaker?
Honorable, you can contribute to the debate on the amendment. We are in the amendment stage now. After we've dealt with the amendment, then we will deal with the motion.
Thank you, Honorable.
That's the procedure. So
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
I hope that's clear.
Yes, sir. I again reiterate that I do not support the amendment motion as alluded to by Honorable Nawaikula. This is not the appropriate time to bringing it in. Let us deal with the motion that's already before the House, and that amendment motion can come in later. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Is there anyone else wishing to take the floor at this time? Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Just a point of clarification that the commitment, my commitment in Washington is on the 6th, and I'd be back the following week, so 17th would be okay. Is that okay? Thank you.
I'm quite agreeable to that. It's just that we wanted that week of the 24th free. So if the Honourable Leader of Opposition, we can accommodate that, we can. See, we have a lot of goodwill, Honourable Nawaikula. You should learn between people who know how to consult each other, not your stuff. Yeah.
Order.
You learn from your leader.
Honourable members, we've covered this point, amendment sufficiently. The amendment now is for the dates of the 17th to the 21st of February instead of the 3rd to the 7th. Those are the dates.
Yes, I have to attend a very important environment meeting on the date.
That's what I'm saying. Honourable member, those are the dates of this amendment. 17th to the 21st instead of the 3rd to the 7th. No. Honourable members, you will have to take note that on occasions we are going to miss someone here, which is inevitable. Now, a point was brought up earlier on by the Attorney General that when a member of government had to attend something, someone else was at it. The term is called pairing. That is when the numbers in Parliament are close. So when a member of the government goes, member of the opposition goes. So there's a balance. And I've done that in my time when I've been Speaker. There's no problem with that. There's an agreement between the two parties. So we can accommodate that. But we're looking at the big picture here, and the big picture is 17th to the 21st. So, honourable members, we will now vote on the amendment that the sitting dates for February be changed from 24th to the 28th to 17th to the 21st. We will vote on that amendment. Does any member oppose the motion? The amendment? No? As open the vote. As no member opposes what the amendment is agreed to. We will now move on. Parliament will now vote on the question. The question is that Parliament adopts the amended sitting calendar for the period February to December 2020. Does any member oppose the motion? Open the vote. Close the vote.
The result of the vote as follows: 29 ayes, 15 noes, and 7 have not voted.
Honourable members, the result of the vote, there being 29 ayes, 15 nays, 7 not voted. The motion is therefore agreed to. Thank you, honourable members. We will move on. Secretary General.
Resumption of debate on the motion in the name of the Honourable Prime Minister.
Honourable members, we will continue with the response to His Excellency's address. And I now call upon the Minister for Industry, Trade, Tourism, Local Government, Housing and Community Development, the Honourable Premila Kumar. You have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, Honourable Prime Minister, Honourable Ministers, Honourable